Welcome to the My Dope Blend podcast. I am your host, Leslie Kirkland, and this is my wonderful co-host and husband, Greg Kirkland.
Wonderful co-host.
Here we are at a place, a podcast where it's a safe place to talk about blended families, all things blended families, the challenges and solutions of how to get through. This episode is really a emotional one. Honestly, it's going to be about divorce. And for those of you who are currently going through that, those who are even thinking about that, those who are just contemplating and don't know where to go or feel left out or left alone because you have recently gone through one, don't feel like you're out there by yourselves or, no one else has gone through this experience, because this platform, this community is a community of those who have, and we're here to support you, to love on you, to help you get through it and find different ways to navigate that new normal. So please, be a part of us. Come and join our community, our blended community, a place of safe haven, a safe haven, to be as transparent as you want to be.
Sure.
You can follow us on Instagram, and that is at I Am the Bonus Club, and subscribe. You can also follow us on TikTok, which is BMom40. But we are really excited, kind of, to talk about this situation,
Are
but
we?
more so, yeah,
Am
because
I?
it's helping others. But we're going to
Okay.
dive into
From
this
that
in a way
perspective,
that
yeah.
is very honest and open. So, you ready for this? We about to do this. We'll be right back. All right. The big word that we all hate to hear, divorce. Ugh, God, it almost feels like a death,
It
to
is.
some, a ending. It's so final in regards to a relationship. So, in this episode, I'm really going to let my husband talk about it, because honestly, I have not experienced, divorce. I've experienced the back end, the aftermath, yes, of divorce because of my husband. So I want him to kind of give his journey, be open, be transparent, about it, and kind of bring us along with you.
Sure. Thank you, everybody.
How old were you when you got married? Let's talk about that.
I had just turned, no, I was 21, about to turn 22. My ex-wife and I met when I was 15. We were 15. We were members of the same church, and we attended the youth ministry together. And she was pretty, she was beautiful. And I was young, and I always considered myself to be the ugly duckling in school. I always considered myself to be the one that really wasn't the most hip. Now, I had some popularity, but it was because of my gift. I could sing, so that's what kind of gave me a level of popularity and notoriety and things of that sort. I was singing with a singing group, and we were traveling, and my wife likes to throw shade at my singing group, but we was big time. I was in this group called Five Young Men, and we were big.
Where are they now? I'm just kidding.
We were big.
Okay.
So anyway, I mean, that was where my level of notoriety was in, being at the church and having this gift at such a young age. I was directing the adult choir, and I was, working with the youth church, and, music was just all in my background from my parents, from my dad. And so, those teenage years of me being in high school, I was never the I was never the trendy guy. Still to this day, I'm not the trendy guy. I don't wear the trendy clothes. And my mentee, our stylist, Isaac Britt, shout out to House of Carrie Taylor.
Whoop, whoop.
Um, he has to stay on me because I will throw on my sweats and my hokas and wear them every single day of my life.
So
And
bad.
I'm comfortable. I'm good with that. Until it's time to put on a suit.
Yes,
Yeah,
that is his
that's
thing.
different now. You say suit and it's going down. But every day that was just, even as a young kid, that was not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So um, my ex-wife was she was the pretty girl, the beautiful girl that the guys were into.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so when we got to a place where there was an attraction there, and she was feeling me and she was liking me, there was the part of me that was just like, man, this pretty girl is liking me, so it was an accomplishment, you know. And we vibe. We were young, she had a car, I didn't have a car. But because of my group that I was singing with and we were making money, so I had the money, so we would go out and just have a good time, all through the end of high school. Uh, High school seniors together, graduated the same year, and then she went off to college, and I didn't go to college. Um, so we dated all through that time, and just we were each other's first. TMI maybe, but that's
Mm-hmm.
just a part of my story you know, and being, having such a spiritual religious background, you know, even that dynamic of things kind of played a, I won't even say kind of, they played a part in my desire to want to be in right standing with God. I wanted to, if this is what you're going to be doing, do it right and, you know, go down the right pathway. So we got engaged 2021 and got married just before my 22nd birthday. So we were 21. Um, so now we're married. Here we are. Uh, we had Kirsten uh, when we were 24. We had Kirsten at 24 and then turned around and had Kyla at 25. So by 25, I was married with two children. Um, and I mentioned previously that I enjoyed marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, there was some dynamics between the two of us that didn't quite click. Um,
Did you know that before you got married? Was that there
it
prior
was,
to?
it was, but we were teenagers,
Okay.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
and so there was that thing of, it'll get, it'll change, it'll get better. The things that I knew within myself that were just like, that's a bit much to deal with. And not to say that she didn't feel the same about, characteristics that I may have had. Um, but when you're younger, you don't like the new thing now is red flags. That's the new thing.
Mm-hmm.
The new thing is the red flags.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all on social media and everything is the red flags now. But at in 2001, 2002, at least from our scope of things, you didn't talk about red flags. You there were things that you notice and you'd be like, man, why, it shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be this hard, or we shouldn't have this struggle, or we shouldn't have these issues. Um, but you don't necessarily at that time, you didn't see them as red flags. You just saw them as young love, high school sweethearts, uh, you know, growing up, growing pains, changes of that sort,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, so here we are now, mid-20s, two children, um, not making a whole lot of money, you know, and having the struggles of daycare and having financial issues and concerns and trying to navigate through career and where you're gonna
It's a
go and
lot.
things like that. So it
While
was
trying to figure out
while
who you
trying to be
are.
while trying to figure out who you are and also
Mm-hmm.
be parents
Yeah.
of two human beings. You know, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it just became a thing for me You take all of those dynamics and you add that my ex-wife uh, was and is a very headstrong person, as
Mm-hmm.
I am as well. I'm a Leo.
Mm-hmm.
So you have two headstrong people, and but I mentioned previously that I didn't really know my voice.
Right.
You know, um, I was very passive as a young man. There was just a lot of things that I just, I'll be patient and she's just being her, and I'm just being me, you know. Um, Not very big on confrontation, not very big on, not wanting to trying to have a harmonious household,
Mm-hmm.
those types of things. Um, so there were lots of things that, whether I felt comfortable with them or not, would just kind of go along with them from because of my passive nature. I see a lot of that in my dad.
Okay.
You know, uh, uh, my brother's, very passive,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Our wives love us,
Mm-hmm.
because we are patient, kind, and to a certain extent passive. I've just learned how to balance that
Yeah.
better. Um, I got to a point toward the end of our marriage where I started to have to admit to myself that I had become who I wasn't,
Ooh.
because, in my opinion, from my perspective, I had made lots of concessions in being passive. By my passive aggressiveness, I had made lots of concessions for the happiness of someone else.
Mm.
I had to realize that I was not happy with me because I didn't recognize me because I had allowed myself to become somebody else at the at at the benefit of someone else, to please someone
Someone
else.
else.
And when I started having those conversations with myself, um, I started realizing that I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because I wasn't happy with me,
You
you can't
couldn't
be happy
be
with
with
somebody
somebody
else
else.
because you're not happy
Exactly.
with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it just progressively heightened and increased. And I got to a place where I had to say, this ain't working for me. Um, Now I had two children.
Right.
So I had to make a decision, and I can stand 100 10 toes down and say that there was a point that I had to make the decision that I cannot stay in my marriage because of my kids, because eventually that would bite me. I felt like that would eventually negatively impact me and my kids if I stayed just for them.
Did you find yourself after, so did the unhappiness come after both of them?
After
Or
both
both the girls
girls,
were born? Or were you starting to feel that before or in
well,
between?
well, my passive aggressive nature,
Mm-hmm.
allowed things even pre-marriage.
Pre-marriage.
Yeah, um, and again, I mean, if she was allowed to share her story might be completely opposite of mine. She would have her own thoughts as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I can only share from my perspective,
Correct.
from my side.
Mm-hmm.
And from my perspective, from my side, um, my passive aggressive nature just allowed a lot of what didn't necessarily bring me happiness to happen, which
Mm-hmm.
ultimately led to unhappiness.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but I making that decision that I would not stay, um, for the sake of the girls, um, was probably the biggest and hardest part of the decision to say I no longer want to be married. I had to deal within myself of the concerns of embarrassment because I was in ministry.
And the church can do that,
Uh-huh.
unfortunately.
Judgment,
Judgment, yeah.
condemnation,
Mhm.
people. And let me say this: we had done a very good job of putting on a facade that we were happy. So then you have the dynamic of the people that would look like what?
But then you would have the people that knew the truth as well.
Right. In other words, there were, when I had to make the decision to do that, and when we actually went forward with it, you know, I had to deal with having to explain the fact that y'all don't live with us.
That's good. I want I have so many questions.
Oh, I know you.
But we're going to take a small little break on that, but I want to put a pin there too because I want you to elaborate on a little bit more regarding happiness.
Okay.
So we'll be right back, okay, guys? Okay, so you said, about you were unhappy with yourself. But I guess at that young age,
Mhm.
what are your expectations of marriage? Like, do you even have any? Like, because you're so young, you only go by what you see.
Right.
And granted, your parents have been married for 40 plus years and mine as well.
Mhm.
But what do you have to go off? Like, you're just going off a feeling to me. And maybe I'm wrong.
Well, actually, you hit the nail on the head. You're going off a feeling.
Hmm.
See, when you're young, you base love off of feelings.
Hmm.
Uh, I ain't never felt, I've never felt like this about anyone else before. You know, I feel so when I'm with him or when I'm with her. I feel butterflies. I feel loved. I feel this. I feel that. Problem with feelings is that feelings, you know, um, I'm not trying to preach, so I'm not going to go down that pathway that I was getting ready to go down. I will not
You
do it.
can't help it.
I can't help it, but I'm not going to do it.
No, say what I mean. I
No,
want you
no,
to be
no, no.
honest and transparent.
No,
So
it's just that there's a scripture that says, "So as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he."
mhm.
Right. Okay. And so, just how do you think in your heart
How do you think in your heart
when your brain is in your head?
when your brain is in your head? That's good. How do you think in your heart when your brain is in your head? They have to work together.
So, what does that
They
mean?
have to work together.
Okay, but I'm not trying to do that today. I'm not trying to do that today.
That's the church in us.
Okay, I'm not trying to do that today. But what I am trying to say is
Mhm.
that you have to be connected with heart and mind.
Absolutely.
You have to be connected. And that's in life in general, not
Yeah.
just relational,
Yeah.
not just relationship wise, but in life, your heart and your mind have to be connected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
And so red flags will cause your mind to say, even though I'm feeling something in my heart, I feel, I love this person. But in my mind, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Hmm.
Something doesn't add up.
Hmm.
Something doesn't click.
Correct.
So you have to think heart and mind.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so at that age, you're thinking heart.
Mm.
Let's say now I can fast forward, and this is, and I'll come back to, because we're still talking about the divorce conversation, but I can fast forward and talk about you and I when it came time for me to, when I was pursuing you and we were in the process of considering whether or not we were going to be in a relationship. at that point, because I'm coming along and I'm divorced and I have 2 children, I had to approach you with heart and mind.
Mm-hmm.
The mind says,
Yeah.
will she accept my children? Will my children accept her? How will this dynamic go? You know,
Mm-hmm.
heart says that thing fine.
I love
Heart says, I'm the daddy.
I'm the, now that's used in a
you
different
understand,
context.
but you understand though.
Oh
But you
my
understand.
God.
That's heart though. That's
Yes.
heart.
Mm-hmm.
Heart is, man, there's something about her. She makes me smile. I love her personality.
Yeah.
That's heart. You understand what I'm saying? Mind says, but what will a blended dynamic be like? What will a long term look like? What you understand?
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily, I wasn't mature enough to understand that concept
Mm-hmm.
going into my first marriage.
Did you all do premarital counseling?
Yeah, we did.
Do you think it gave you the tools you needed in order to make that decision of whether this is something you should or shouldn't do? And I'm asking for a reason because we did it too. But I just,
We did go through premarital counseling with a wonderful couple.
Mm-hmm.
They did give us great tools. The number one tool that I will never forget out of those premarital sessions was that they gave us the notion and the idea that divorce is not an option,
Mm-hmm.
which messed me up in the end. Just being completely honest and open,
Mm-hmm.
because throughout the marriage, that was a mantra. That was a
Divorce is
underlying.
not an option. Mm-hmm.
You understand? Divorce is not an option. Divorce is not an option. Divorce is not an option. Okay, but our dynamic is approaching borderline toxic.
Mm.
It's moving its way into toxicity. Divorce is not an option? Wait. So wait a minute. Because in a minute, my kids are getting ready to be brought up in toxicity.
Yeah. So I guess the question is, are you supposed to say divorce is not an option or divorce is the last option? Like how do you phrase that? Because I get it,
Well,
it's so hard.
that's 10 episodes, right?
That's 10 episodes. Yeah, because now we live in a day and age that they're like 21 days, it's over. I'm done.
Right. Well, but which leads you to ask the question of no shade at all, because it's a reality. It's 2024. Most people get married. Most people get married now with the understanding that if it doesn't work, I could just get a divorce.
Right.
That's
it's too easy.
Right. But then at the same time, there's the dynamic of our ancestors and our grandparents and great grandparents. Yes, they had the understanding that divorce was not an option as well. But in many cases, grandma and grandpa were sleeping in different beds. They were sleeping in different rooms. Yep. They was tipping down to the juke joint. They was, you understand? So there was a level of toxicity, but divorce was not an option.
Because you have to create that facade for what they say, for your children
and for the community,
and
for the church, and for the
he the pastor,
I stayed with him,
he a councilman, and he this,
you see? So then you have that dynamic. So the question really should be, what is the middle ground that causes people to be more thoughtful before they get into a marriage to avoid divorce?
Okay.
So it's like, I got a divorce. In my opinion, I had gotten married too young. I didn't know myself well enough to be in a marriage. I didn't know what I liked and what I didn't like enough to be in a marriage. I didn't know my voice enough to be in a marriage. I didn't have the thing that I have with you. See, we have our moments. We ain't perfect.
No.
We have our moments. But I'm grateful that I could come into a relationship with you and say, I have to be able to be brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be. Don't ask me, do I look fat in this? Don't ask me that. Because what I'm going to say?
You're going to tell you the truth. I think you should wear another dress.
Listen to me. You might wear that other one.
You
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
you had to be you. You had to be your authentic self in order, yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I
but
get it.
but I came into that though.
You were
I
very direct
really,
with
really
that.
did. I came
Mhm.
into that, and I had to learn that I can be honest in a loving way, but I have to be able to be honest. I don't want to sugarcoat. I don't want to pussyfoot around it. I don't want to have to bite my tongue. I don't want to be thinking one thing, but feel like I can't say what I'm thinking. No, I'm not doing that.
But how do you have all those thoughts because that's the mind, but then your heart
Yeah.
is
No,
saying another thing.
okay, watch this. And we here, you know, we are so secure that I can make this statement.
Mhm.
When you ask that question, guess what? My heart can still make the statement that I still love my ex-wife.
Mhm.
I have enough love and respect for her to want to see her be happy,
Mhm.
to want to see her continue to be a great mother to my daughters,
Yep.
for her to be happy that she's found someone that makes her happy.
Absolutely.
Um, that's my heart. My heart never stopped having love for her.
Mhm.
Now, it got to a point where I was no longer in love, the type of love that a husband should have toward a wife. I stopped having that
Mhm.
while we were still married. I had to acknowledge the fact that I didn't have the love for my wife that a husband should have for a wife. I had to acknowledge that. I had to be honest with myself, with her, with God, with my community, with my children, with everybody. I had to be able to say that.
Were you disappointed in yourself for feeling that?
Yeah. You know, there's a level of failure that you feel. Um, you started out the episode by talking about it almost feels like a death. That is absolutely true. When you divorce, you mourn. You mourn the death of a relationship. You mourn the death of um you mourn the death of a dream because you get married with a dream of I'm gonna have a happy marriage. You know, this is gonna be forever and we're gonna die old and and our kid we're gonna be with our grandkids and we're gonna, you get married with those ideals. When it doesn't happen, you gotta mourn that because what I had in mind didn't work. Am I a failure? Did I run out of my kids?
Mm.
Uh, you know, are they gonna understand? Um, will they ask me the hard questions? Will I have the strength to answer them?
Mhm.
Um, will they look at me as a failure? Will they want to go with me or go with their mom?
Ooh, because you didn't know how that was going to go.
Don't know.
And then the struggle that comes behind that when you finally make the decision of, okay, I am ending my marriage.
Mhm.
This is done.
Yeah.
Um, what would you tell someone that is contemplating divorce? Um, Male or female, what would you tell them to do or navigate that decision?
Um, I remember, I remember talking to my pastor,
Mm.
um, and he said something to me. He said, "Divorce is not new." He said, "We don't talk about it. It's taboo in the church." Um, he said, "But divorce is not new." He said, "They happen every day."
Mhm. Unfortunately.
Um, he
Unfortunately.
said, "You have to make the decision of whether or not you are in a love filled marriage." And he also said to me that if you're feeling like it's going in that direction, he said, what you need to do is try counseling. try, um, you know, uh, well, counseling in essence would embody everything.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you look at different things to do, at the end of the day, it kind of all come back to counseling. But in essence, what he said to me, not even in essence, what he said to me was, at the end of the day, you are going to have to be able to answer the question of, did I try everything before making the final decision? He said, because if you make this decision and then you look back and the question is asked to you, whether it's by your children,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's by your ex, whether it's by your community, whether it's by yourself, if you ask yourself the question, did I try everything? And the answer is no, you should not have gotten, and you should not get a divorce. And that triggered me to go to counseling. We went to marriage counseling. Uh, we tried retreat. Went to,
Everything that
before I had to say, all right.
this is it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, we are going to come back on. I want to talk about the aftermath of I am divorced now. I'm divorced, because I think individually you go through emotions. Um, because as you stated, you're mourning.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about mourning. All right. All right, guys, we're back. So we are going to talk a little bit more about this divorce. But I want to dig a little deeper into the phrase that my husband stated of mourning it. Mourning can come in so many different ways and flows when you're dealing with the end of a relationship. Especially when you have children involved. So I really, really want you to be transparent about the mourning of that all. Um, and I definitely will talk in a little bit about what I was able to see because I witnessed some of your mourning.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
Be transparent. What after you said I want a divorce, I'm
Mm-hmm.
done.
Mm-hmm.
Bring us through that part of walking away, realizing I'm not waking up to my kids anymore. This doesn't exist anymore because you're not just letting her go. You're letting what was the dynamic of your in-law. All that's gone from a perspective of we're married.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
looks so different now.
Mm-hmm.
So, then now you're living on your own. Now you went
Mm-hmm.
from living together and now
Mm-hmm.
you're living on your own. And now you got
Mm-hmm.
to take care of the girls within that confinement as well as all that other process that comes with divorce. So
Mm-hmm.
walk us through that a little bit.
Um, I had gotten to okay. I am the type of person in every area of my life
Mm-hmm.
that before I make a decision, I think it all the way through to the end.
Mm-hmm.
All the way through to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Before I make any decision, I think it all the way. I can't stress that enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think about every scenario. I think about every obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
I think about every argument that could be made about my decision. Um, and so I did that even before I divorced. So with that, by the time I got to a point of saying, okay, I'm ready,
Mm-hmm.
I was ready because I had thought it all the way through to the
Mm-hmm.
end.
Mm-hmm.
because if I'm going into this unprepared, uncentered, I'll waver, and then I'll be teetering, and there are too many people involved. There's too many uh, emotions at stake for me to make this decision and not be 100% secure.
But you knew.
Yeah.
She didn't.
Right.
You were
So
ready. She wasn't.
right.
Okay.
Right. You know, but I had to, which being 100% honest, you know, and I said this, I'm not sure if it's remembered that I said this, but I did feel this way at that time. I was a little bit thrown that she wasn't, only because, again, toward the end, things weren't sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I mean, we would go days and days and days and days and days without speaking to each other. And just existing in the same house, putting on a united front. Now we could ride in a car, not speak to each other, and get to that church, and you would think that we were the happiest couple. And then we would get back in the car and head home
And not say a word.
and
to
not
each
say
other.
a word. It was
Unfortunately, there's so many people that probably do the exact same
absolutely.
thing. And
Absolutely.
those listeners and viewers may be
and
doing
now-
the exact same thing. I'm, you know.
Absolutely. But now let me say this now.
Yeah.
Now, that's marriage sometimes.
That
I mean,
is.
we do that sometimes.
We do, but ours is
that's just being real.
Yeah, but ours
You know,
is.
It's not toxic.
It's not toxic. It's
we're gonna eventually give in.
Yeah,
and not just eventually give in, but in most cases, especially on her from her perspective, it's hard for her to be quiet and not speak to me. So.
Oh my God.
So just being honest.
No,
I mean,
now we
she
really
wants to talk.
We really gonna do this? Because I could say I'm not talking to you for 5 minutes. I'm not talking to you for 30 minutes.
Die laughing.
He gonna die laughing,
because
but then he gonna be like, "Come here, don't do that to me. Don't say that. Don't act you ain't gonna do that." Oh my God.
Okay.
Get to the.
But anyway,
back to the story.
What I'm saying is, my point that I'm making is that, you know, I'm not trying to say that if that happens, I mean, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. You don't like each other every day.
No.
You know, that's just marriage, period.
Mm-hmm.
There's no perfect marriage where everybody talks to each other all day, every day, always happy, always in love, always.
Sometimes I'm watching my shows and my phone.
And I can't wait. Anyway, what I'm saying though is, in our, you know, situation, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. So at that time, you couldn't have paid me to think that what I was feeling wasn't mutual, because it was just it wasn't sweet. It just wasn't. So, you know, when it came time and I finally, you know, said, yeah, this is how I'm feeling, and I don't think that we, you know, should do this anymore, and I think we should, you know, separate, and because we went to a separation first, you know, and then eventually I had to say, no, I don't think we should do this no more, you know, and that's when the divorce process started. You know, I thought that it was mutual. It was, you know, when she explained that it wasn't, that's when I had to then continue to stay within the decision that I had made within myself of, I feel like it's time. Mm-hmm. I feel like I can't go on. Mm-hmm. If you feel like you could, I respect that. I apologize about that, but I
can't do it.
Can't go on. I'm unhappy. I'm just not there. So, all right, so we get there, we make this decision, we go through the whole divorce process. Here's what I remember. I remember that I may have gone to a church service, probably because I'm always in church. And when I came home, she had cleared the house. Her, you know, her things, the girls' things, lots of the furniture, not all, but lots of it. I knew she was gone. And I hadn't gone inside. I just knew that while I was gone, because we had discussed it. We had discussed that she would come. She shared with me that she was going to come while I was gone. She didn't want me to be there.
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to make sure that I was gone when she did it. So it wasn't like malicious.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to make that clear. It wasn't malicious. We had discussed that while I was gone, she was gonna come get her things out the house. Her and the girls. When I got home, I didn't even go in the house. I sat in the garage, and I knew what happened while I was gone. And I had an entire emotional breakdown and meltdown in my car in the garage because I knew it was over. So this entire 12-year relationship, 5 years as teenagers, 7 years as husband and wife, it's over. My children were gone. My wife was gone. Their things were gone. I knew I was going to have to get out of my car, open up the door, walk into this house, and their things were gone. I had to face that. I had to sit in that. I had to mourn that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to accept that. And I had to make sure that the decision that I made was what I wanted to do. Because at that point, ain't no stopping this time. The ball was rolling. Train was rolling. Got myself
Was
together.
that
Go ahead.
feeling going into the house when you went in the loneliest feeling ever of, oh my God, my wife and my kids, especially my kids, because I know they used to greet you. My kids are not, no greet at the door.
It was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. Because I can't say it enough, not to sound redundant, but I had to ask myself, Greg, are you in this? Greg, you do realize that this is real, right? This is realer than real. This is happening. This is a thing. You in this house by yourself, sir. You better go in here and be in this house alone. By yourself. Sure you ready for that? You sure this is what you want to do? And I had to
Face it.
face it. Yeah, I did.
You did. In facing it, guys, there's so much more to this. So you guys definitely have to subscribe to get more detail on this. But something I witnessed, coming in on the aftermath, not even the tail end, because I didn't know him then. So the aftermath of it, it was what, 3 years. I think it was 3 years. When I met you, it had been 3 years.
2 years when we met.
Okay, 2 years. It had been 2 years after
3 years.
3 years when we started dating.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, it doesn't go away overnight. It does not. There were little things, little triggers for him when we were just dating. That literally, and I'm gonna be really transparent, that brought him to tears. It was little things because he was still dealing with it. He was still dealing with it. And as someone who never dealt with it, I had to be sensitive to that. I really had to be sensitive. And it almost hurt me because I knew I could see that he was literally almost at the time, and there's no shade to the relationship, but he really was in a prison within himself because he he couldn't be free. And when I say free, it wasn't free to roam, it was free to be him. It was little things that I'm like, what? But I'm like, but it was you had to release it to
Mhm.
embrace the new. He had to
Mhm.
purge it to embrace the new.
Sure.
And I had to be supportive of that and allow him to do that
Mhm.
if I wanted him to be whole
Mhm.
within our relationship.
And you did. You did an amazing, there was some tug of war.
Yeah.
There was some moments where I was just like, Greg. And it wasn't even you. It was just things that I had to, okay, you ready to do this again? You ready to for real get into a serious relationship again? Are you really ready to get tied down? Are you really ready to get, married again? You know, um, I knew that I wanted to be married,
Mhm.
knew that I wanted to be married again, knew it without a doubt, because I believe that marriage is good.
Mhm.
I believe marriage can be amazing and healthy and fun and rewarding. And I believe that. And our marriage is evident of that. But there were times when I had to recognize that uh,
Something that triggered you.
another 5'1" Sagittarius from New Orleans.
That's the only
my
similar.
my ex was a 5'1" Sagittarius from New Orleans. I
Isn't
wasn't
that
sure if she put a
crazy?
root on me,
Ugh.
but I just I wasn't sure.
But let me tell you this.
But
Oh, of course he had to say that.
but, you know,
But the truth is, yes, where I was born and raised in New Orleans. She was born in New Orleans and eventually moved here.
born, yeah,
But y'all, we are night and day.
yeah,
We are night
yeah,
and day.
yeah. They are night and day, and
Um,
they're night. And I say that jokingly,
yeah,
honestly, but they are night and day. But at the end of the day, my lasting thought is that you know what I had with my ex-wife was necessary
absolutely.
for that time of my life and to
Mm,
produce my two amazing daughters. I
absolutely.
wouldn't trade it for the world because my daughters came as a product of that union and that time in that relationship. I just had to get to a place where I had to be honest within myself, honest with God, and honest with everybody around me to say, this relationship is not working. If we'll be honest, it may be time to move on to something else. And thanks be to God, I did. And I'm grateful because both, we're both in relationship, both remarried, both happy. And only God could do that.
Absolutely. So, guys, whew, Jesus, that was a little heavy, but I hope that it definitely helped someone or others, period, within our blended community and those who are listening for the first time or viewing for the first time. Divorce is something serious, and it's something to be very what's the word? Not strategic, but would it be strategic? No. Mindful in regards to don't be so hasty in it.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Take the necessary steps
Sure.
before taking that leap into just saying it's over.
Yeah.
Um
Mind and heart.
mind and heart. Mind and
Yeah.
heart.
Mm-hmm.
I hope this helped. I hope it gave you guys a viewpoint into Greg's life and how he got to that place. And it wasn't an easy place to get to, and he just didn't do it overnight, and now he's all so hunky-dory happy into this new marriage, but it took time. Even when we met, he was still going through that. So I hope you enjoyed it, guys, and please don't forget Yeah, merchandise. I want to hear from you guys. Tell me your stories. Tell me where you guys are right now, even in this place, and not only could I possibly be of help, but definitely Greg could be a of help to you all. Follow us, subscribe with us on Instagram. I am the Bonus Club and my Dublin podcast. Also follow us on TikTok at BMom40. I think our next episode, we're going to flow a little bit more into divorce. I think the co-parenting, and how what all of that looks like, and get a feel for that. Right?
Sure.
Okay. Now I may have to defer a little bit, but we'll see. But thank you guys for listening to My Dope Blend. Peace out.